part, and that's where they attach to this plate specifically. So there's the lateral plate, which is going to be called the lateral pterygoid plate of sphenoid bone, this one right here, and there's a medial pterygoid plate of sphenoid bone. Okay, these are kind of stuff they can ask in the lab. These are paired. They're important to us because muscles of mastication attach to it.
Wait, can you show it one more time?
So this one's the lateral plate, and this is the medial.
Oh.
Okay, question.
Is the pterygomaxillary fossa what's in between, or what's that?
So is that?
It's not on.
Yeah.
The
So
list, but I learned it
pterygomaxillary
in
fossa,
radiology,
it's
too.
this one, like this space right here.
Okay.
Which basically, if you see, it's between from the name is between the pterygoid plate and the maxillary bone, right? So that's why it's called pterygomaxillary fossa, and that's one of you're gonna really dissect that a lot on the cadaver. You're gonna find multiple stuff in it. It's really hard dissection. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so ethmoid bone. Okay, so now the ethmoid bone. The problem with the ethmoid bone is that you cannot really see some parts of it here. It's just because the way they cut the skull, they cut right in half. So there are a couple of bones out here. For example, the nasal septum, vomer, perpendicular plate of ethmoid bone. All of these, they were just cut where they cut the skull. Okay. But you'll find those are kind of bones they can ask you in the cadaver because you will see it in the cadaver. Okay. So anyways, so here if you look at this, there was a nasal septum here, right? Okay. So kind of like from here to here, kind of halfway. If you see a bone that's kind of run there, right, in the nasal septum, that would be called a vomer, and that's you see that in the pictures. They will ask you that about it in the lab in the osteology exam, and then halfway from there and up, that would be the perpendicular plate of ethmoid bone. Again, we cannot see it here anymore because it was cut. Okay, so if you see from there, from here down, we'll call it vomer. From here up, we will call it perpendicular plate of ethmoid bone. Okay. Okay, now cribriform plate, crista galli. Okay, these two normally, I mean, we cannot again see it because it's in the midline, but they would live right here. These are important because that's where the olfactory nerves, you're gonna find them. So that's again in the cadaver, or any picture on Google, you can look it up, and it's very obvious. Okay. Now, since we're talking about ethmoid bone, so there's gonna be again ethmoidal sinuses. So ethmoidal sinuses are all these tiny spaces right here. Okay, these are ethmoidal sinuses. So what's a sinus? We kind of saw multiple of them already. A sinus is basically just a space occupied maybe by bone, by blood or something like that. Okay. Okay. Sorry, Chelsea.
That's okay.
Okay. All right. Now the concha or concha, whatever you want to say it. So these also again, you can in some skulls you will be able to see them, but not all the skulls. So there are three of them. There's superior, middle, and inferior concha or concha, and those are the ones that you can see also in cadaver. Here maybe, I'm not sure because I cannot find the other ones. Normally superior you cannot really see it, but maybe this is the inferior one right here, this one. But maybe there's an inferior, middle a little bit higher, and there's a superior way up there. Okay, and that again you'll find it in the cadaver. Okay, but since you cannot see it here, you probably can find it in any picture that you can like take it from Google, and they can tag that basically on the osteology exam. So the temporal bone. So again, temporal bone. We said this is temporal bone right here. Okay, all the way across. This is temporal bone. Now all this right smooth part right here, we would call that squamous part. All the crazy part right there, petrous part of temporal bone. Okay, so now the temporal bone is going to contain some processes, tinier processes, right? So let's talk about that. So the first one important is going to be a foramen. It's an opening, and that's basically the external auditory foramen. Okay, and that's basically the opening of your ear canal. Okay, this is external auditory meatus. There's an internal one that you're going to be responsible to find later on through the semester. So external auditory meatus. Now there's the bony part that's around the external auditory meatus, and that would be the tympanic part of sphenoid bone, which is this kind of colored part right here with the green. This is tympanic part of sphenoid bone. What's below that would be that.
It's under, tympanic part is under temporal bone, but it's part of the sphenoid bone.
Wait, so which one?
Tympanic part
Mm-hmm.
is under like
Temporal
the
bone?
temporal bone, but it's part of the sphenoid bone.
Why is it part of the sphenoid bone?
Just you said it. That.
Oh, that's what I said?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. No, it's temporal bone.
Okay.
Delete that from the
Mess everyone up.
Okay, so it's tympanic part of temporal bone. Okay. Now, what's an extension to it, which is this little guy right there? Okay. This is a styloid process. Okay. Now, this is important also, and you'll look it up and you'll find it on cadavers because that's a bunch of muscles going to be attaching to it. For example, a stylohyoid muscle. Okay. It's a really confusing muscle, by the way. Okay. So styloid process. Now, the other part also would be mastoid process, this little big part right there, this mastoid process, and we mentioned that little on this during session as basically what muscle attaches to it. Do you guys remember? Sternocleidomastoid, okay? Now, between the mastoid process and the styloid process, there's a foramen, and that's what it's going to be called stylomastoid foramen.
Where is it?
So between the mastoid
Mm-hmm.
and the styloid process, there's a foramen right there.
Oh, okay.
That's going to be called a stylomastoid foramen. And kind of the name gives you a hint on its location. It's kind of between them, stylomastoid foramen. Okay. See what else in there.
Temporal fossa, infratemporal fossa,
Okay, so that's
mandibular fossa.
so temporal fossa is basically all this right here, all this space right here is temporal fossa. Infratemporal fossa, all these are just imaginary spaces. Infratemporal fossa is this region right there, which is basically below temporal bone. Okay, this is again temporal fossa. Now here, do you have the lines? Is it headless?
Yeah, superior temporal line.
Okay, so this would be. I don't know if you can see it with the light maybe, but basically here, this is a superior temporal line. Do you see it with the light?
Yeah.
Okay. So anything below that, that's kind of the beginning of the temporal fossa.
Okay.
And you guys are gonna dissect that also.
So the superior temporal line crosses over the parietal bone.
Crosses over, yes.
What about the mandibular fossa?
Okay, so the mandibular fossa, that's where basically the
Okay.
condylar process of the mandible will articulate with. So if I remove this, you're gonna create a kind of space right here, a fossa, and that will be the mandibular fossa. Okay.
Zygomatic bone.
Okay, so zygomatic bone for now, we'll keep it easy and simple. So there's the zygomatic arch, which is this entire thing. So zygomatic bone, this is what I'm about to outline. So all of this here is zygomatic bone. Okay, now that's basically your cheekbone. Okay, that little thick bone right there. Now it's gonna be connected to adjacent bones by sutures again. I'm just gonna go over them for now. So there's the first suture right there, which basically connects the maxilla with the zygoma, and that you can call it zygomatico-maxillary suture or maxillozygomatic suture, whatever the terminology is. There's a one between temporal and zygoma, that would be temporal zygomatic suture, and there's a frontozygomatic suture, okay, or zygomatic frontal suture. You can double check that. Okay.
Maxilla.
Okay.
It's 1216.
Okay.
So maxilla. So this is the maxilla right here. So in the maxilla, you will find what's it called. So there's the body of the maxilla, which is basically the majority of it. Like right here is the body. Okay.
I'm good. I'm not used to having just staying here for so long. You're doing great, Marwan. You're doing great. Just keep it up.
I mean,
It's a long list. You just keep it up.
Hey man, have you ever seen the Khan Academy videos?
Mm-mm.
No? It's kind of like Chad's videos, but I think you should start your Marwan
Mhm.
Academy.
Marwan taught
You
Khan.
should.
Marwan Academy.
I'll think about it.
Marwan the Wise.
We'll make him famous.
I was gonna say. Okay, so maxilla. So there's the body of the maxilla, which is the majority right here. Okay, and there's the alveolar process of the maxilla. So there's the alveolar process of maxilla. There's the alveolar process of mandible. Okay, and that's basically the alveolar bone, and that's basically where the teeth sits. So all these right here, all this there, all these little bony parts between teeth. Same thing here, all this right there. This is alveolar process, alveolar bone.
You have
Okay.
to be specific of what, like maxillary mandibular.
I would say that. I would say alveolar process of mandible versus maxilla. Now, let's say we extracted a tooth.
The alveolar process is only on the maxilla. That's the only one that we need to know. It's not on the
Oh, okay.
mandible.
Okay.
Just,
Sounds good. Okay, so alveolar process of maxilla. So now let's say if we extract a tooth, we leave a space in there. Now, that space you can call it a gomphosis. So a gomphosis is basically a type of joint that connects a tooth with a bone. Okay. I don't quite know how they will tag that, but if they do, I would assume. So do you see? There's this tooth right there. Okay. Part of it was I don't know what it is, like the roots right here. So if you see, there's a space in there. Do you see it? So I would say that's a gomphosis. But to be more specific, gomphosis is a type of joint that connects a like teeth to bone. Okay.
Let's see.
Composes
right there.
Oh, well.
Okay, now let's continue with the maxilla. So the other part of the maxilla would be the frontal part of the maxilla, which is this part right there. So here it gets kind of a little confusing. Well, it is kind of confusing. So there's a nasal bone right here, right? There is this part right there, this one here. This is the frontal part of the maxilla. There's the lacrimal bone next to it,